I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 16. And today I'm going to be talking about how I branded myself as the coach that I am, even though I am a multi-passionate and very creative individual with ADHD. So for me, what that looks like is I know a lot about a lot, but I don't feel like an expert in any one clear area. I don't have just one topic that people come to me and are like, teach me all about this one thing. And I've never felt like an expert or like I really am as qualified as I probably am, like that other people might see me as, even that I've even written in copy, like on my website and in my bios, because I know the facts are that I do have a lot of experience and I do have a master's of education and I did specialize in program development. So like I do have the credentials and the experience and the passion to talk about business development and program development and how to help people create change in their lives through coaching. I have the experience, like I understand that intellectually, but there's still a part of me that feels like an imposter. And I think it's because I like a lot of things. And I spent a lot of time waffling between, oh, maybe I could start a t-shirt business and sell Gilmore Girls themed t-shirts on Etsy. Oh, I could make watercolor cards and sell them at farmers markets. I could start a subscription box for couples date nights or self-care items. I could be a coach on careers. I could be a coach on like work-life balance. I could be a coach on so many things that it ultimately took me a long time to realize what people meant when they talked about branding yourself. And I honestly don't like anyone else's advice, which is kind of a thing for me. I like to learn what people mean about topics, but then I pretty much want to like rewrite the rules. I am a rule breaker at heart and a mover and a shaker. Heck, that's probably why I'm an entrepreneur, just like you. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have a bit of like, I don't like rules in you. And hopefully this makes sense to you if you have ever felt that feeling of like, I don't know what to pick, either because you know a lot about a lot, or you just have like multiple strong interests, and so you're just not sure how to make that decision of what do you niche down about, and like how do you brand yourself as an expert in an area when you know that you could know more about a topic, and all of the imposter feelings and overthinking that comes with this problem. It's a big messy one. So I just wanted to share about how I have navigated that feeling at multiple times in my life, and then give you some tips on how you might apply it. So the first story I want to tell you about is when I first was starting my coaching business. So I spent 2 years not making any money as a coach. And I instead was just thinking about like branding and marketing, and it was so stressful to me to consider, well, how do I talk about myself as a coach? At that point, I had finished my bachelor's of science in psychology. I wrote a thesis about mentorship, and I had worked in a research lab that studied emotional intelligence. I knew a whole lot about self-care and self-worth and personality and social psychology, and I still, even though I wrote a thesis about the value of mentorship, I could not view myself as worthy of actually being someone else's coach yet. And that kept me, stuck for 2 years. And, recently John and I were talking about this. We read an essay in 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, I think is what it's called, by Brianna Wiest, I want to say, or Weist. And one of the essays was about, if you're not, like, this is the synthesized version, like, I don't even know if she would agree with this, but, like, our takeaway was a discussion about, if you're not growing and, like, working towards a goal, then you're wasting your time. And we disagreed. We didn't realize how much we agreed and disagreed at first, and we kind of got confused by each other for a hot minute while we were making dinner. But ultimately, one of the things that I learned from that discussion with John about myself was that I really do believe that your season of confusion has purpose and is necessary. And so for me, those 2 years, I often tease and say, like, I was floundering, or I was just, avoiding actually putting myself out there, or I say some negative things about it because that's genuinely how it felt. Like, it felt like I was just such an imposter that, I was watching what other people were doing, but I didn't want anyone to know what my actual dream was. I used to have this big dream of, like, being on stages as Genesis, the self-care coach. Like, it meant so much to me to think about helping people set boundaries, because I was raised to believe that I could not have boundaries, and I was taught that in a lot of ways. And so it felt so purposeful to me at the time to figure out how to help people with that. But I couldn't figure out how to actually talk about myself in that way, because I knew I had multiple interests and I could do other things. So why would I pick that one thing? And so what I was doing at the time, I was, like, watching what other people were doing. I was making websites. I have always loved, like, HTML coding, and oh my gosh, do you remember MySpace? How you could, like, do some light coding on your MySpace page? I was a hardcore nerd in high school, and I used to play around with that all the time. And I don't know if anybody else remembers the website Iconator. It was like Icon, ATOR. It was like old school Pinterest, where you could go find memes and icons, is what they called them, and just, like, little pictures and stuff. And I loved graphic design and putting that into a web page so you could, like, see it all together. And yeah, so okay, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole too far, but basically I didn't know it then, but looking back, those 2 years gave me time to learn website development. It gave me time to learn how to put together graphics on Canva. It gave me time to learn that I hate Wix as a website development platform, and WordPress is way better. I learned a lot through that time, even though I still consider it like 2 years of, like, not actively working towards one specific goal. And that essay I referenced, like, kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because it sort of implied that, like, if you don't know your goal and you're not working towards your goal at any point in your life, like, you are wasting your time. And I just think that's such a bullshit capitalistic way of thinking. And gosh, if this episode ever makes it back to that author, like, let's talk about this, because maybe I misunderstood, but it really concerns me, this dynamic that's out there that, like, if you don't know exactly what you're working towards, you're wasting away. When really, even a plant, like, is not always growing. It's still alive. Like, I have pothos plants, however the heck you say it, all over my house, and they don't always put out leaves. And sometimes they're completely dormant for months. I have one that's been dormant for years, but it's still green. It's still plump. It's still happy. Like, it's still alive. I don't know what it's doing in there, but it's still here. And I know that eventually it's going to put out another leaf. And, like, all my pothos plants, like, they don't put out leaves every day or every month or every year even, but they are consuming their resources. They still need water and light and still need to be tended to and cared for. and they still are working towards growing. Even if I don't see it, they're still working towards growing. Like, it's still happening behind the scenes. And so this idea of this essay being like, oh, if you don't know your goal and you're not actively working towards it, you're wasting your time. Like, I apply that to plants, right? And in my head, it's just like, that's factually wrong, because like, that's literally not how it works for plants, right? And I haven't talked too much about like my spiritual beliefs, but I look at like human existence as, okay, this is going to get a little wooey. Go there with me, okay? I view humans as like consciousness is the way that the earth experiences itself. And the reason why we have consciousness is to like make meaning of the natural processes. And I believe that we are of the earth. Like, as humans, we are just as part of nature as a tree, as a plant, as a blade of grass, as a lion in the jungle. Like, I don't know where lions live. The Sahara, the desert, I don't know. Animals in the wild. And because of that, so like, I often will make metaphors back to like natural things, like waves, right? Like, your emotions come and go, your interests come and go. Plants, like, sometimes you're going to be dormant, but then all of a sudden you'll pop off a bunch of leaves, and like, it was still growing that whole time. And then if I relate that back to humans, and like in my story that I'm sharing with you about my multiple interests and having to weed through all of that muck of like, well, am I this or am I that? I wasn't able to actually show through like putting out a leaf, right? Or by like marketing myself and changing my Instagram, or like, I don't know, putting an ad out there that I was ready to be a coach, because I was working intrinsically on stuff I wasn't ready to show. And the way that I did that was through playing around with websites. And I still was learning so much that has helped me immensely in my business since I finally was ready. And it frustrated me because I knew I had a bigger purpose to serve, but I wanted to do it, but it was like I was being held back and I couldn't explain why. But once I let it just be that I was working on stuff and I just wasn't ready, and I like released that pressure, all of a sudden I started having these like lightning bullet strikes of growth because I allowed the truth of who I am to be part of my decision making. So even though, it looked like I wasn't fully growing my business, I didn't make any sales, I wasn't like showing anyone my website, even though I built like 5 different websites and had 5 different brands of the different type of coaching I would do. There was like self-care, self-love, relationships. I was thinking about being a health coach at one point. Like, there was all sorts of stuff, like marriage, millennials, careers, all the things. And ultimately, that season of brewing or of noodling was so required for me. And even though I didn't know what exactly I was doing, like it wasn't intentional, it still mattered and it still was needed. And I wouldn't be where I am today if that didn't happen. And so I just really want to speak to you if you are in that phase of like, how do I brand myself? I have all these interests. I don't know what's right for me. I have nothing to show for all of the work I've been doing, because in your head, you've been brewing, you've been noodling, like you've been thinking over all of your ideas for a long time. And if you're starting to get frustrated at it, it might be that you need to sit in this space right now. And you need to honor that right now, you need to be noodling. Like, you're not done cooking your ideas yet. You need to keep thinking on it. And then when it's time, you will have done the really hard work of sorting through all of your ideas and deciding which ones to keep and which ones to throw away. Because there is nothing worse than like what ifs later in your business being like, well, what if I did this? Like, you need to give every idea enough time for you to fully consider it, so that then when you're ready and you've narrowed it down some because you have let yourself explore all of your potential pathways, which to some people might look like not working towards a goal or not making enough progress or wasting your time or being stuck, it still has a very important impact on your branding and your business. And I can prove it because it took me 2 years. And then once I was ready, it blew up. And all of a sudden I was making $3,000 a month, and then more and more and more. And I've been in business for 5 years, and now it is my family's sole income. Like, that can happen. And what changed for me was the lessons I want to make sure I share with you today. So at this point, like, I've shared the story of it, right? And I hope that this is helpful in knowing, like, if you are in the struggle of, I have multiple ideas, it's okay. But here are a couple of strategies that you could apply, and maybe some homework or some questions for you to think on. And I really encourage you, if you don't have a business coach yet, like, that is critical. For me, that is what changed, is I finally hired a business coach to help me with all of my thinking and to help me get clarity on my brand and what really mattered to me. And I now have the privilege of getting to hold space for my clients that are in that space of, being unsure about what's right for them. So if you're an internal processor, you might want to write down these questions and consider these strategies on your own. You can journal about it, you can reflect on it, or you can talk it out with a close friend or your partner. Like, John has spent so many hours listening to me and my business ideas. But ultimately, you're going to want to bring your ideas to a business coach that can be an external party to your life, that doesn't know you personally, that can really see which ideas have legs and try and be that outside perspective that can reflect back for you. Like, you actually sound way more excited about this topic, and oh gosh, you're going to have so much more to say if you choose this one over that one, because you're going to be creating content for the rest of your life, the rest of your business. So it better be something you can talk all day about, and all those good things. So, okay, here are the strategies I want to share with you. If you have multiple ideas that you're passionate about, I want you to get a piece of paper and write them down with a couple inches between them. So turn your paper like horizontally or landscape, and then write like one on the left side, one in the middle, and one on the right. And then I want you to start asking yourself, what's similar between all of these? And then what's different between all of these? Now, if you're good with like drawing circles, ultimately, I would love for you to have like a Venn diagram of all of your multiple ideas. And so if you have like 2 ideas, or if you have 4, you can kind of do like a tournament style, like 2 against 2. And then whichever one, like, you feel like, okay, I could let go of this one out of those 2, like bring it up. And then of the other one, like, which one could you let go of? And then bring the winner like to the next one. I hope that makes sense. It would probably make more sense if I had a visual for you, but basically, like, look at the similarities and the differences, and then ask yourself, of the similarities, is there a new thing that you would need to define? Because what I think happens a lot for multi-passionate, very smart, like very well-versed in multiple subject individuals is we actually are being called to create totally new things that don't exist yet. And what sucks is that we feel like an imposter because we're trying to fit into other people's examples and ideas that we have seen before, because it feels a lot safer to like follow in someone's footsteps. But you might be being called to create something new, and that might feel scary. So I just want to normalize that could be happening for you. And that's part of why I call myself a business development coach. I know a lot of business coaches. I know a lot of like business mentors. There's marketing coaches and things like that. And like, I do a lot of those things, but For me, it's really about the development of your business that I want to support you through. And so I had to create my own thing. And before that, I was a career development coach. And I focused on empowering you to define your own career path. And now that's what I get to do, but with entrepreneurs. So we talk about how to find your special thing or create your special thing so that you can do work that you're truly passionate about. So list out all of your ideas, consider what's similar and what's different. And if you can't find the name of like what it all has in common, I want to give you the freedom to start coming up with a new name. It might just be that the reason why you've spent a lot of time feeling frustrated and trying to fit yourself into other molds that you've seen other people do is because you actually need to create your own thing. So then the next strategy that I want to recommend for you is that you ask yourself, why do all of these ideas that I have matter to me? So you would go one by one through them and answer, why does this one matter to me? So I would ask myself, right, like if I was talking to me 7 years ago, I would be like, why does self-care matter to you? And then why does self-love matter to you? And why does relationships matter to you? And why does marriage matter to you? And so on and so forth. And then I would probably spend about 5 minutes writing about each one, just free flow, like answering that question. And then I would go back through with a highlighter. And this is actually a qualitative research method that I'm telling you about. So you would take the answers for each of your writings and you would start coding down for themes between the different writings. So your answers to why this topic matters to you would become your data set. And then I'd want you to put on like your investigator researcher hat and try to objectively look at them and see, oh, wow, I used the word freedom in every single one. So highlight the word freedom in all of them. Or, oh, I use the word safety in all of them. So I'm going to highlight the word safety in all of them and just look for themes, because that can really help you start to see what it is that actually matters to you. And then you might be like me, and it might be that actually I don't really care what your career is or like what your like type of business is. I just care that you have a business that gives you the freedom to express yourself in it. And so if I tried to like only help, you know, one very specific type of career industry, like that might not have been as satisfying for me, right? So I wanted to help people that were really selfless identify their dream opportunity, whether that was in a job or through starting their own business. And so maybe there's a version of that exists in your ideas too. And ultimately, what will sustain your passion for your business is if you know why what you do matters to you. And so if you have multiple ideas, I want you to ask yourself, like, why do each of these matter to me? And then look for common themes. And basically that becomes like the common denominator between all of them. And then from there, you can consider, okay, how do I brand and niche myself? And I also want to give you the freedom that like your brand is you. And if you are just having a hard time communicating like who you are, what you do, what you care about, and those details, like it actually is a lot easier than I think most people think it is, because it starts with self-reflection. But okay, sorry, it's a lot simpler than people think because it starts with self-reflection, but self-reflection isn't easy. That's what I meant to say. Branding is simple, but it's not easy. So I know you might be thinking like, oh gosh, this sounds, pretty straightforward, but I can tell you, if you've been feeling like, oh, I have so many interests, what do I do? These type of activities that are self-reflective can be absolutely mind-blowing, but it does take caring enough about your interests and valuing your passions enough that you let that be your guidepost, and getting away from the idea of, oh, well, I'm good at these things, so that's what I should do, Or, oh, my partner told me I should do this, and I really liked that idea because they were excited about that idea, so maybe I should do that. Or, oh, well, this is what I have the most professional experience in. I guess I have to do it because, that's what I'm most qualified to do. It's releasing yourself from all of those rules and truly going inward and pulling out what is the coaching program, the offer, the brand that's in you that maybe nobody else has done, and finding that unique variety of what you want to do and who you want to help and how you want to help them. And then that becomes the foundation of your business. And once you know those details, then you can create an offer based around it. And then marketing becomes so much easier because you're not having to sell yourself anymore. You're selling what you do and why you do it. It's not about you personally and your qualifications and your education and your experience and blah, blah, blah. It's about the impact that you create with what you do, which is so much easier to talk about because it's not about you, it's about the people you serve. Okay, last thing I want to share is that if you are struggling to brand yourself and your offers, you would love joining Passion to Paychecks, which is my signature group coaching program. I also offer one-on-one. I'm booked up right now, but we'll have a one-on-one spot opening next month. So I'm recording this in April, so that would be in May. But group spots are open right now. I've got a couple of spots that are available for April, and it is the best development program for new coaches that are ready to grow their business, own their expertise, stop second guessing yourself and your rates, and actually develop a really high impact coaching program that you can easily sell for $1,000 or more. And I teach you how to do everything from branding to developing your offer to marketing it to actually closing sales and then sustaining your energy and feeling self-love along the way. So you're not just building a business, you're building something you're really proud of. You're building your dream life, and your business is the vehicle to create it and create the kind of impact and income that you're here to make. So don't feel stifled. If you have multiple ideas and passions, you don't have to let any of them go. There is a way to make them all feel connected and make sense, and you might just need some support. So if this is resonating with you, if this has felt helpful listening to this podcast, you are going to love Passion to Paychecks. And if you want to get started learning more about it, head over to my website, genesisrose.com, or send me a message on social media. I would be happy to chat with you about your ideas and give you a step in the next direction that is right for you. All right. Take care, everyone. Talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.